A question I get on an oddly frequent basis is how often should I bathe my ball python? Ideally, it'll really be never. They're not a species that you should really see frequently soaking in their water bowls. You could probably technically get by with your ball python having access to no water if it's on a usual feeding basis, because a lot of snakes get the majority of their moisture from their food. Don't do that. Give your ball python water because it still might need it. There's not a ton of moisture in that food, but that kind of shows you just how much water they really need. But a response I commonly get when I suggest to people that they don't necessarily soak their ball pythons on a usual basis is that my ball python loves to soak. It's in its water bowl all the time. Chances are this is a sign that something is incorrect in your husbandry, or there is something wrong with the animal. Don't worry, they're rarely super severe and you can pretty easily fix all of them. But the three things that usually get your ball python to soak are: 1, it's too hot in the enclosure, they're simply trying to cool down. 2, they have stuck shed, or they're trying to shed and there's not enough moisture in the enclosure or humidity. Or 3, they have something like mites. Mites are basically like little ticks or fleas, but in snake form, that latch onto your snake under their scales and suck away at their blood. These are unfortunately somewhat common at certain reptile expos and from certain breeders. And although they can be treated, it is quite a pain, and it usually takes me a good few weeks of daily work to actually get rid of the mites on the animals that we have like rescues come in or whatever. You can check all these things pretty easily. For temperatures, hopefully you already have a way of checking the temperatures in your enclosure. I keep my ball pythons at around 90 degrees at their hot spot. Some people will say a bit warmer, like up to 95 or whatever, or maybe a little bit cooler, but the hotter you get, the higher chance that they are soaking because of that. You can use a thermometer to check the temperatures, and you can control the temperatures on your heat mat or whatever with a thermostat. I have my favorites linked below in a heating kit if you want to grab a thermostat if you don't have one. And this will make sure that your animal is not overheating in the enclosure, and it doesn't feel the need to actually soak to cool its body temperature down, because they are ectothermic and cannot regulate their body temperature like I can in this room. The second is the humidity might be too low because they need some additional moisture. Whether it's because they are trying to shed but it's coming off in multiple pieces because it's getting stuck and they can't get it all off because there's not enough moisture in the air. So basically it's all crumbly and dry and just flaky in general, and it's kind of a pain to get off. The same way that like in the winter your hands might be more dry, at least my hands, when it is drier outside, and it's all scaly and gross feeling. They need to keep their skin or their scales nice and moistened, which ideally ball pythons will have slightly higher humidity, so that is a requirement of theirs. You can also read this using a hydrometer. A lot of these are built into different thermometers, but you can check and see, and it's possible that it's simply too low. I have all my ball pythons at 60% humidity. Sometimes I bump it up to about 70 or 75 when they are clearly going into shed, but even if I leave it at 60, it's always completely fine. There are many more things that can cause stuck shed in ball pythons or snakes in general, and I did a video on that earlier in the year if you want to watch that. The third and most common reason or issue that your ball python is soaking is because they have mites. Like I said, they're these annoying little ticks and bugs, and although they won't like immediately kill your snake, if they are constantly on them and keep breeding and keep going on your snake and keep breeding and keep breeding and keep breeding so that your snake is just covered in mites, then it's probably eventually gonna die. But don't worry, you have time to fix it. To identify mites, you can look for these black specks on your snake. Most commonly, they'll just be on the scales, around the eyes, in their heat pits, and basically just everywhere. You can usually rub your hand down your snake and there'll be like these moving specks that come off. You can use a damp white paper towel. That's usually the easiest way to actually see. If you're using like eco earth or coconut fiber as substrate, don't freak out, it might just be substrate. Just take a minute and stay calm and actually see if it's a mite or not. And if you have something like a banana ball python, they are commonly naturally covered in black spots. So yeah, lots of people freak out sending me pictures of their banana ball pythons. And although they can have mites just like any other snake, most often it is just black specks. So the mites will be moving and yuck yuck. I did a video on how to get rid of these mites a while ago with cringy old me, but still the same information. That still works. Takes a few weeks to get rid of, but once all the mites are gone, your snake will ideally stop soaking. And from what I understand, they usually are soaking with mites because they're trying to either drown the mites, which are very strong, or they're trying to soothe themselves from the uncomfort that is little bugs sucking all their blood. Those are the three most common reasons that I see ball pythons or snakes in general soaking when they shouldn't be. There might be other reasons. You can leave those in the comments if you know of them. But that leaves the question, why shouldn't I bathe my ball python? It's fun, for me at least. Well, it's probably not fun for the snake. The only reasons I would actually soak a ball python are, one, if it's having trouble with a bowel movement. Some nice warm water can help just kind of loosen their muscles, just like in a person, and they can pass that poop a bit more easily. Now, if they are having trouble passing in general, you want to actually find the source of this. The most common reasons are you're either feeding too large of meals, so it's just like way too much for the body to digest and get rid of because it's like this huge mass of stuff, or because the snake is dehydrated, which can also be caused by being too hot or too dry in the enclosure. But just a one-time helping with the passing of the bowels is a pretty good reason to actually soak your snake. The other reason is if your snake does have stuck shed and it's too late to help prevent it in the first place, soaking can help get it off. I also did a video on that. But if it is not constipated or stuck in shed, there's really no reason to put them through the suffering that is a bath. Of course, each ball python will be different from the next, but the majority of them are kind of going to panic in water. It's not something they're naturally used to. They really don't have much control. Even just like if you put a ball python on the carpet or a hard floor, that slipperiness, they'll sometimes tend to panic a little bit. Not always, but because they don't have anything to grip onto, they're like, what is happening? I am defenseless. So the same can happen in water. And any time that most people soak ball pythons, for the fun of it or for any reason, they do tend to show the common signs of stress or defense or aggravation because they're in this environment that they don't like, whether because it's too cold for them or because it's something they're not used to or something that's not natural to them. So yeah, there's different reptiles that soaking is very nice, like certain lizards you might soak weekly or monthly or whatever. Certain snakes just naturally soak a lot more in their bowls. So there's definitely benefits. Even if your snake is just dirty and like has a urate stuck to it and you need to get it off, then a little soak might not hurt, and then you can just wipe it off with a rag or something. But if you're just gonna soak for the fun of it, like some people have in videos.
Real like video about the snakes in a while.
Don't be them. But the short answer to this video is just don't soak them unless you have to. They're probably not gonna enjoy it, even if they look kind of cute swimming around. Just get a turtle. But that's my opinion on the topic of whether you should soak your ball pythons and when it is actually okay to do so. Make sure to leave your opinions on this below, and maybe leave some more info on other species of snakes and whether you should soak them or not. I focused on ball pythons because I feel I have the most experience with them, and yeah, ball pythons, people like clicking on ball python videos. But that'll be it for this video. If you want more than just videos, you can follow on Instagram at go_herping. I'm starting to upload occasionally on IGTV and doing some different things there with stories and posts, so there you go. That's it. I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.